Tori's grandmother, who owned that Nissan Versa, she testified about how difficult the death of Tori has been on her and the family. In Lawrenceville, Georgia, I'm Kelly Craft. We'll send it back to you.
All right, let's bring in our guests for this hour. Joining me, former criminal defense attorney Kirk Nurmi and family law attorney Randy Kessler. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on the show tonight. We'll begin right there, Kirk, with the Ford case. I still have to go back to the very, very beginning of this case and the idea, number one, that they brought the case, considering the testimony of the medical examiner, but now we're at the retrial. Are you surprised they decided to bring a retrial in this case, given what happened in the first trial?
You know, Michael, not really, because retrials tend to favor the state. And so they've seen the defense's best pitch, if you will. And now they get a chance to bring it back forward, knowing what that pitch is going to be. But, you know, I was watching the opening statements, Michael, and I sit there and I see a defense attorney on ground that defense attorneys aren't used to standing on, that of the state's own medical expert, and sit there and say, she doesn't know the cause of death. She doesn't know the cause of death. And that's an unflappable conclusion that makes a state's hurdle for getting a conviction on this case, even though it's a retrial, even though their odds are in their favor. It makes it much more difficult when a defense attorney can stand in that ground and say, there's no conclusive evidence by the state's own expert.
Exactly, and with nothing new, that's why I was surprised they brought the trial. If a jury heard the evidence, heard the testimony, and decided that they couldn't come to a conclusion, they were pretty much split down the middle, Randy, on this issue. What I did notice in the opening statements is this time they're going to lean more into the forensics. They brought actually a new forensic witness in to testify, taking a little bit of a different approach than the first time, because if the ball is in the middle of the field, let's say, and you got to get it across the 20 to get beyond a reasonable doubt, to push that ball up, they're going to need more, they're going to lean more on the forensics and the actions of the defendant. Those are the two things that I think that can push the ball over, but still, I'm not convinced it's enough.
Look, Kirk is always right. It's good to see you again, Kirk. And you know what? When the state gives you that, it's like manna from heaven, right? When the state's witness says, I can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt, I can't even determine whether it was a suicide or a homicide, it's their witness. I mean, there are no words as powerful for a defense lawyer in closing argument than to say, listen to the state's own witness. That's it. So you're right, they need more than just their expert, you know, telling them that it was a death by shooting. They need some more forensics because, as a defense lawyer properly pointed out, don't go with your feelings. Don't go with, well, this is a bad guy because he was there and maybe he did it and maybe you don't like him. Go with the facts. So the state's stepping up and saying, we got to get more facts than just that one witness. It's the only thing they can do. And yeah, it's a little shocking that they're moving forward, but they're trying to save face. They brought this case once, they failed. They don't like to lose.
Yeah, no doubt. And the other thing they lack is a real motive in this case. They can't claim that there was any issues between these two that we really know about. No evidence of that. All right, let's turn to the Bahamas case. Lindsay Shiver, we know that text messages really nailed her. And we were introduced to her, to the two other people involved that are also in jail. Kirk, what do you think's going on with the delays? I mean, people don't understand. Processing takes time. And sometimes when you get into the Bahamas and other places like that, things are not the well-oiled machine. And I use that term loosely as some of the states here in the States, and things take a little longer. Your thoughts about the fact that it's taking longer than we thought for her to be released from prison on bail?
Well, you know, a lot of times, Michael, justice doesn't move at the pace we'd like it to move, but ultimately the result is really what matters. And all these things, you know, we talk about the evidence in this case, and it's highly fixated, I think, is going to be on the digital footprint, right? Her text messages, what she did to advance the hitman killing her husband. So all those things can sometimes take time to get the data from the providers, what have you, the different cell towers. So they want to nail that down and make sure the case is a strong one, because you know she's going to mount a vigorous defense. And they're also going to probably want to try to tell the story of why. I mean, why didn't she call Randy Kessler and get a divorce? She wasn't destitute. She wouldn't have been destitute after the divorce. So why did she take this step? Because that's always an important way, no matter what justice system we're talking about. Why is a good way to convince a jury that somebody did it. That is a good hook. And so they're going to want to look for evidence of that nature as well.
All right. Now, she did actually file for divorce. He filed for divorce one day. The very next day, she filed for divorce, claiming domestic violence and a couple of other things. So, again, that sort of plays into the hands of the prosecution as well. All right, gentlemen, stand by. Moving on now in Kansas. A woman charged with second-degree murder was given immunity by a judge yesterday. Now, she took the stand and told the court she was defending herself and her daughter when she was attacked by her boyfriend.
He has beaten his girlfriend, the defendant in this case, savagely on several occasions. He's beaten his own mother. He's beaten his own grandma. Again, they hedge on that. All three of those folks are enablers. The defendant's an enabler, the mother's an enabler, the grandmother's an enabler. And so nothing ever came to the court. I'm not sure she's even sure what she did, her testimony, but she did believe she had saved the life of her child. So the question then becomes whether or not the use of force was objectively reasonable. And of course it was. There really isn't any question about that. From the evidence that I see here today, it was objectively reasonable. It would have been, to me, objectively unreasonable not to have done something. The only evidence I've heard is that he was in that vortex of violence that night that he'd been in, you know, for a good portion of his life. This is a pretty easy one for me, that the defense's motion for immunity is granted and the case is dismissed. You are free to go.
Ashley Pearson had been charged in the stabbing death of her boyfriend, Kyle Hill, back in 2018 during a domestic dispute. But the judge said that she was defending herself and dismissed the charges against her under the Stand Your Ground law. Now, she spoke after the dismissal. Here was her message to other domestic violence survivors.
It's not going to change, like, and it can end up really, really, really horrible in 1 second. Like, you hear, like, them tell you, like, get out, he's going to kill you, and you just think it's something that is said to people like me, but it can literally happen in your whole life, everything. Your brain is completely changed in 1 second. Don't even take that risk. Like, it's not going to change. There is help, like, and it's scary, but it's not as scary as being here, thinking that you're going to go away for the rest of your life for being a mom, like, twice. Oh, I'm just so glad it's over. Oh my gosh.
All right, coming up next, Alabama police responding to that viral video of a brawl between a riverboat crew and other boaters. They're calling it criminal. 3 people are facing charges so far, and police say more charges are coming. Then later in our Talk Back segment, what are your thoughts about that video that everyone is talking about? Tell us what you think. Share your comments with us on social media, and we might read your words later on in the show. Keep it here on your Front Row Seats Justice.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, we're joined by a handwriting expert as we compare letters in the JonBenét Ramsey case. A convicted pedophile has allegedly confessed to the 1996 murder in letters to a former classmate.